I'm not here to motivate someone else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? You know, this isn't a satisfying life. It's gratifying from the feeling of accomplishment, but it's not satisfying from a sense of like the innermost, parts of your heart. There's a lot of folks who go to where they believed they were heading to make them happy in life, and then you arrive there and all of a sudden you get to first in the world, and then they say, what's the point? And I really do believe that what's the point? You say, why? Why do I want to win this tournament so much? What if the golden boy of golf isn't quite not as clean as everyone thought? Scotty Scheffler, the courteous, quiet Texan, who was the face of loyalty on the PGA Tour, has always been seen as the one who never even looked at LIV Golf's money. When Phil Mickelson, Brooks, and other famous names Koepka and Dustin Johnson left for Scheffler stuck put, even when he got big paychecks. The best person to represent the PGA Tour. But today, there are subtle rumors going around regarding something different all along. According to whispers say there might have been a secret LIV Golf made a $5 million offer on the side. A deal that never happened, never hit the news, and it seems to have disappeared. It went away just as swiftly as it came. Could it's possible that Scheffler was discreetly came up to, maybe even tempted simply to keep his choices open? If so, what does that says a lot about the golfing fans thought was impossible to touch? When LIV Golf began to shake things up, sport with those jaw-dropping deals, Scheffler quickly earned the PGA's the Tour's sign of loyalty. While the people all across the world were talking about Dustin Johnson's Phil got $100 million or Scheffler's dramatic action, Mickelson stayed calm. He wasn't showy or noisy. He was calm, centered, and focused. The kind of guy who would rather hang out with his wife and close friends than chase clout or posts about luxury private jets. To supporters, Scheffler represented the purity of golf. But beyond that immaculate look, there was stress. The PGA Tour needed him to stay. He was young and the best in the world. And the trip itself is proof that still had star power during a time of chaos time. That's why these rumors hurt so much. A lot that even Scheffler might have thought about a covert deal. Then no one in golf is fully safe from temptation. Those whispers have to start somewhere, and they didn't originate from ESPN or the Channel for Golf. They started in the shadows on fan forums, late-at-night golf gossip, and Twitter threads podcasts that like to go into guesswork. Hidden among arguments regarding which famous golfer might come to LIV Golf next, one name kept coming up: Scotty Scheffler. No one believed it at first. Not seriously. Scheffler was meant to be not able to be touched. The man who has never even considered an offer. But shortly the time began to make people think. The chatter said that silent meetings might have happening. At the same time as LIV's shopping spree was at its best. The same time Brooks Koepka and Cameron Smith surprised the by changing sides. The tale went like this. Scheffler publicly stayed faithful to the PGA Tour and his team might have been good to test the waters behind closed doors. The talk wasn't that he was ready to leave, but that he was smart enough to pay attention. After all, disregarding money that could change your life without at least hearing the offer would have been a brave step. That's when the first time the now famous $5 million rumor spread came up. A claimed side payment meant to leave the door open. Not a promise, just a contract, whispered retainer that would go away if it ever got out in public. Most fans thought it was just crazy hearsay, but the rumor didn't go away. It got louder. Based on what people are saying online, LIV Golf didn't simply want Scotty on their group. They wanted to be sure he didn't become the PGA Tour's forever the golden boy. Their supposed strategy was to be silent, a $5 million insurance policy that is one-of-a-kind offer. No long-term strings attached, no need to play, only an unsaid. One arrangement that was aimed to keep options open in the largest power battle in golf. It was a lot of things silently moved through middlemen only to keep the conversation going. Think of it as a purchase. Time. If Scotty Scheffler ever LIV Golf wanted the door, but he hesitated, already opened up. And for Scheffler, people who were there said it was promoted as a no chance without danger. Take the money and keep playing on the PGA Tour and make a decision later if it made sense to cross that line. The idea of paying someone was crazy. Millions only to say no, but that was exactly what people said IV's playbook said. Changed the sport so much that even being loyal cost money. And then things started to get weird in the universe of Scheffler. The $5 million news went around in golf's talking behind closed doors. No substantial proof, just noise that won't stop. But then it came what they dubbed the leaks. No-name accounts started posting what they said were pictures of draft agreements and emails between LIV negotiators and someone who is said to be connected to Scheffler's group. One screenshot even showed the words non-binding retainer and agreement with a number that suspiciously came to $5 million. The post spread like crazy. For days, golf Twitter turned into a detective. Fans zooming in on font sizes, email, signatures, and even digital timestamps on signatures, and even digital timestamps on PDFs that are hazy. Some people said it was real, evidence that Scheffler had at least thought about it. Then, just like all of a sudden, everything was gone. Posts were taken down, accounts disappeared, and links stopped working practically right away. Inside a week later, all that was left was pieces. Threads on Reddit that talk about screenshots that were no longer there. The digital paper trail was erased so much that many began to wonder if it had been on purpose. That the disappearing behavior only heightened the talk louder. Had Scheffler's lawyers stepped in? Did LIV try to shut things down to keep their image safe? To defend their reputation? Or was it? All of this is basically a big online prank that came apart as soon as anyone started digging deeper. No matter what the reality was, fans were more interested in the mystery than before, and the lack of noise around it made it much more suspicious. Anything the reality was, one question stayed. If there was nothing to hide, why did all the so-called proof disappear? In one night, the PGA behind closed doors, the tour surely heard the noise, while there was never any formal confirmation. People on the inside said that talks of Scheffler's supposed back and forth with LIV Golf did make it to the top of the circuit executives, and the timing way too easy to overlook. Not long after, when such suspicions started to spread, the PGA Tour suddenly said that prices would go up, a lot higher prize money and bigger bonus pools for players at the top of the list. In public, these people said that these acts were part of a plan to stay in the game with LV's large prizes, but some people thought Scotty Scheffler may have discreetly helped push the change. This is how the theory went. He had seen LV's offerings up close and might have suggested to the leaders of the PGA that if they didn't step up their game quickly, loyalty might not last forever, even for someone like him. Other players saw the change too. Some experienced golfers were reportedly complaining about the golden boy wasn't as good as the news said he was. Look, some even said that the PGA worked extra hours to keep safe Scheffler's good reputation, scared of the PR crisis that would blow up if they're caught in any form of trouble with their most trusted celebrity of bargaining. But the murmurs didn't stay locked up in boardrooms. They started to leak into the locker rooms. Tension was building softly on the surface. Jealousy, envy, and a little bit of doubt. All of a sudden, even fans were beginning to ask the question that no one wanted to feel. Did Scheffler really take the cash? This is where the tale divided the world of golf in half. On one side were the faithful believers and fans who wouldn't believe Scotty Scheffler could ever do something bad. To them, he was the best role model for being clean-cut, a caring husband, and a quiet competitor, someone who was more inclined to devote his Bible study on weeknights instead of hanging around with real executives in Miami. They said that the $5 million side deal was just a rumor, was only talk of jealousy and fiction on the internet. But the other side wasn't sure. Not everyone was sure that Scheffler was innocent. A few fans started putting together things that didn't make sense. Not quite right. Small changes to your lifestyle that made folks talk. There were hushed reports that Scotty was going to upgrade his ready for travel, with rumors of a part of a private jet share, which as he'd always said no to in interviews. Some people talked about new luxury practice, places in Texas that appeared to pop up practically overnight. For those who don't believe, they weren't just random events. They were hints. Even though he has won a lot of PGA Tour events, the math didn't quite add up. Of course, Scheffler was making a lot of money, but not enough to explain every new cost. A secret $5 million bonus is going away, softly into the mix. That some fans made perfect sense. No proof. No, there is no official paper trail, only patterns. Patterns that started a heated argument about if loyalty in golf could ever be completely unbreakable, or if even the cleanest star might cost something. But that question made me think of an even bigger one. Why would LIV Golf supposedly spend millions on a player who never even joined them? If the whispers were true, It wasn't just about Scheffler being paid in, it was about disturbing the PGA Tour's moral base position. Scheffler had been their poster youngster for being loyal, the quiet, stable celebrity who stayed put while others left huge checks. If it ever came out that he took money from LIV without saying anything, it would still be possible to do it without switching sides. Have changed the game completely. The PGA Tour's message of honesty would look wobbly all of a sudden. After all, how could they say bad things about Brooks, Bryson, or Phil for going for money if it's their own champion had taken a look behind the scenes? It would have shown that money, no matter how much loyalty you have, talking is louder than loyalty. The picture looked perfect from the outside, and that's what worried fans the most, because if Scotty had some kind of who else might have a secret side deal, who else was involved? Rory, Spieth, maybe more. People were curious if the whole world of pro golf was just a lot of deals going on behind the scenes, while spectators were being told a story of loyalty, respect, and tradition. As the rumor grew, things began to move behind the curtain. Reporters who tried to follow the plot and suddenly discovered doors shutting in their faces. Sources who had previously been honest about PGA business immediately stopped. Some even said they were urged to let it go if they wanted to keep getting in. It was like someone had drawn a line that couldn't be crossed. At the same time, a few independent reporters started to dig deeper, checking trip records against each other, sponsorship applications, and even shell corporate information related to sports management groups. And that's when the trail got a mess. Hidden LLCs that are the same as each other business names and unclear money transfers made it nearly hard to tell the difference between what was true and what was just a rumor. Still, one thing stood out: the dates. Several transfers from people who weren't connected companies appeared to fit together wonderfully, with the timeline of the supposed $5 million payment of $1 million. Just a coincidence? It's possible. But in a world where money flows quicker than fans weren't so sure anymore, and the PGA Tour's silence didn't help. Officials threw out the claims as chatter has no basis, but the fact that there wasn't transparency only made them more suspicious. Every time you say no, every time you don't answer a question, made people wonder what was actually going on. The truth, a picture, or being safe worth millions. By the middle of the season, it was impossible to ignore the tension. Journalists talked in hushed tones about a quiet procedure to fix the harm going on behind the scenes. According to reports, some PR teams had been told to put the focus on Scheffler's activities in the community and family values in the news. The ideal distraction. All of a sudden, stories about him, events for charity, programs for young people, and humble life filled with golf news stories. It felt nearly too perfect. Timed. Some fans termed it a happenstance. Some people thought it was a planned move to drown out kindness in the face of disagreement. Even some players observed the change and said things like Scheffler's getting a public relations boost. But the time was strange, and golf Twitter blew up again. There were a lot of arguments. Was the PGA Tour looking out for one of its stars? Or was the media helping them hide it? Something wrong? Scheffler through it all, he didn't say anything. No answers, no statements, no interviews, just silence. For months, he kept his head down, letting his clubs do the talking. But for fans, that quiet was deafening. Because in a time when athletes clap, his quietness pushed back against every rumor. People just wondered about confidence. He was either avoiding drama or the truth. Then the big news came. A golf YouTuber famous for revealing secrets about sports dropped what they said were verified money records that connect one of Scheffler's sponsors to a business with links to investors in LIV Golf. The movie went viral in a day, getting a lot of people saw it. The person who made it didn't openly blame Scheffler, but brought up a question that makes you raise your eyebrows. Could sponsor money could have been used to hide a payment in secret? The internet went crazy. Threads, videos, and posts with reactions filled every platform. Some people nicknamed it journalism that breaks new ground. Some people said it was a foolish guess. But the timing could hardly have been worse. For the PGA Tour, just days before a big Scheffler's headlines regarding the event, the money from the unknown sponsor overshadowed the competition itself. Even people who used to be pros added their 2 cents. Some people stood up for Scheffler, alleging that he was being unfairly pulled, while some hinted to the tale wasn't completely false. All of a sudden, golf, which is usually calm, clean, and quiet, was at the heart of one of the biggest, the worst social media storms ever. People close to the spotlight, Scheffler is said to have felt the pressure. Friends said he was tense but calm, and people said his team was putting in extra hours to keep things under control. Some people who knew said that there were talks between Scheffler's camp and the heads of the PGA. Meetings so secret that even people who have been there for a long time, the personnel didn't know what was said. But as the argument kept getting bigger, something unexpected happened. Scheffler began winning again. After the tournament, he played with unwavering focus during the event. Concentrate, as if blotting out the noise, him much more powerful. Fans had no idea what to stop thinking. Was he showing his innocence through doing or utilizing victory as a shield against the rumors? But every time they won, they got more questions. People who wrote about it argued on whether if his calm demeanor was real or calculated. Every word and move, every smile on the green was looked at closely. Like never before, it wasn't only about golf anymore. It was about trust, how things looked, and strength. Then came the biggest turn of all. Months later, materials that were leaked from a consultant who used to work for LIV came back, and one of them said Scheffler's name in a secret, a plan for negotiations. The file told outreach to several PGAs to learn more players, one of whom was called Texan First, a nickname that fans quickly linked to Scotty. The web blew up again. Some others said it was the missing piece of the puzzle. Some people considered it gossip that had been rehashed from an old idea that never got anywhere. Still, it was impossible to ignore the rumors. Now be quiet. The whole story had already changed how people thought about professional golf for all time. The sport's good name had been broken open, showing how loyalty, money, and prestige were all mixed up in ways that not many fans thought of. And just as Scotty Scheffler was in the middle of the serene, quiet superstar whose name had become one of golf's most talked about concerning things that are unknown. That's why this rumor still hurts so much. It's not only about one golfer. It's about the whole fight between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, and if it was ever actually about principles or if it was always about money hidden behind polished PR smiles. And that brings us to one last awkward question. No, after all this time, there is now an official contract. Not clear bank records, no clear proof, just whispers, erased screenshots, and a trail of speculation that won't disappear. Scotty Scheffler stays at least in the public eye. The PGA Tour's golden boy, loyal, humble, and not able to be touched. But that $5 million rumor side deal still lingers like a silent shadow in the backdrop. A what if that golf enthusiasts can't seem to get rid of. It could be there was no fire, just smoke. Maybe rivals who were jealous planted the story only to ruin his perfect image. Or perhaps the truth may have been buried for a long time, before anyone could see it. Because in the high-stakes world of professional, money doesn't simply transform lives in golf. It changes stories and loyalties and chooses who gets to stay clean in the main focus. And if someone as Scotty Scheffler is calm and balanced, might have been tempted, but maybe not one, not even the face of the PGA circuit, was never fully beyond of reach. So, what do you think? Was Scotty Scheffler genuinely not touched? Or was it simply $5 million? Too much for anyone to miss? Please let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to share, like, and sign up for more crazy stories and realities that are hidden from the world of